improving people, products, and businesses is what we do. Enriching lives by shaping experiences and creating memories. Every kilometer of the journey is what inspires us every day.
Today Imperial is a group of 51,000 people. We operate in 31 countries and our business is mainly in what we define as mobility, which is a very large vehicles business mainly in South Africa and a very large logistics business mainly outside of South Africa. We are by far the biggest distributor of motor vehicles in South Africa and we are by far the biggest transporter of goods and distributor of goods into the major supermarkets on behalf of the manufacturers in this country in South Africa. In Africa we distribute goods, we're in Nigeria, Ghana and so on. In Europe we're a very sophisticated logistics player supplying parts into the major motor manufacturers of Europe, and we're also the biggest inland shipper in Europe, barging up and down the Rhine. So a large complex business. This year we'll do about 110 billion rands in sales and make about 6 billion rands of operating profit.
As a leader in mobility, Imperial is always expanding and finding new ways to offer our customers first-class mobility experiences. From the early days as a single dealership in 1948, the group has always strived for excellence.
Our customers have got to be a primary focus. In these times, people are looking for more value for less money. They're looking for better quality, for better service. There are constraints on their resources and they're trying to save money at every turn. So we have to actually deliver more for less. In South Africa, of course, as we know, there's a very high unemployment rate. The people who work within our business are probably supporting 3 or 4 or 5 other family members. And for us to think about the sustainability of their jobs is very important. If we have to retrench somebody in our company, we are actually probably putting 4 or 5 lives at stake, and we have to be very careful about that. So we work with our people as people on a day-to-day basis all the time and try and keep their energies and interest in the company and the job alive.
As markets become more competitive and margins more and more under scrutiny, truly global companies with streamlined operations and efficient and inspiring leadership become more relevant.
Today, as is the case for most businesses in the world, we find ourselves in fairly difficult global conditions. Things are very volatile. We all know that with China slowing down, it has repercussions for all businesses throughout the world. For us, of course, that affects us in 2 ways. China's slowdown means that South Africa is selling less commodities into China than it would have. And at the same time, the prospect of the Americans putting up interest rates is putting pressure on our currency. So we as South Africa are feeling that pressure in two major respects. And of course our own local economy is not performing that well. In Africa the picture is different. There on average the countries that we're in are growing at 5% and that, although it's slower than it would have been a few years ago, is still very strong growth. In Europe there's a good pickup of performance, but still some pressure. So I would say in general not easy economic circumstances, but certainly promising because of the geographies and the product categories that we're in.
The future belongs to organizations that are ready to take up the challenges of difficult and fast-changing external variables. Organizations that focus on being leadership fit. Imperial is growing and nurturing these future leaders as a point of differentiation.
Well, I think that good leaders are, by definition, not swayed by the exigencies of the moment. Good leaders read the environment better, and good leaders are more resilient because they are achieving great satisfaction from doing their job well, and they're not swayed by this morning's newspaper headlines. So part of good leadership, as far as I'm concerned, is seen through some of the, let's call it, more short-term and oftentimes depressing situations that one faces in business, and saying we're not building this business for today, we're building it for the future. And part of that is saying, how do we grow people for the future? How do we make them more resilient? How do we make them more thoughtful about where we are? And very importantly, how do we make them more agile? The world is changing so fast. We talk about volatility. We talk about, headlines changing the world orders. We talk about currencies moving fast. And in that environment, you can't plan for 20 years the way you could have in a slower moving environment. You have to have leaders who are agile and respond sensibly within a strategic framework.
Imperial aspires to be a leader in mobility. To this end, we are committed and engaged and looking forward positively while investing in our own future leaders who will redefine the landscape and own the future.
Well, if I could wave a magic wand and we do everything that I hope that we'll be able to do, in 3 to 5 years' time, Imperial will be a much more international business. I think we'll be able to legitimately call it a global business. I would hope that more than half of our profits come from outside of South Africa. It will certainly be a business of a younger cadre of leaders, so that those of us who are going to move on over the next 10 years will leave the business in good hands. And I would hope that it'll be more valuable for all stakeholders. I would hope that our people, our employees, feel that it's a better place to work than it is today. I would hope that our shareholders find that it's a more valuable asset to own than it is today. So a general feeling that all stakeholders will be in a better position, and that the quality of this business will have improved over the next 3 to 5 years.